Hey, can you find a water bottle for me?
Something so simple.
Hi, Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Wednesday, June the 6th. Well, marijuana is in the news today. First of all, medical marijuana. The Arkansas Supreme Court is going to hear oral arguments tomorrow in the appeal of the lawsuit in which Judge Wendell Griffin said that the scores couldn't be taken into consideration from the grading of marijuana cultivation facilities because the process was flawed in a number of ways. Potentially explosive news in this case. The Attorney General says it has something it wants to file under seal in this case, leading to a lot of speculation about what that could be. We do know that opponents of the grading of the cultivation facilities have been circulating tons of information that's been dug up through the FOI and other means that shows all sorts of irregularities in the process of grading and evaluating these applications, and many suggestions of conflicts of interest on the part of commission members. There's even a rumor circulating, unsubstantiated I should say, about perhaps a tape recording existing that might provide some insight into some of the process. That would be a big deal. Speaking of marijuana, the Little Rock City Board of Directors last night voted 6-2 against Ken Richardson's proposal to de-emphasize enforcement of simple marijuana possession arrests. The police chief, the mayor, and the prosecuting attorney all opposed it. There was a wonderful letter from Senator Joyce Elliott in support of Richardson's idea that you can read on the Arkansas blog. It's a waste of time, waste of money, and it fills jail cells that are needed for real criminals. We're not ready for that just yet in Little Rock, however. At the state capitol, House Speaker Jeremy Gillam said he's going to resign at the end of next week. He's taking a job rumored for several months to be lobbyist for the University of Central Arkansas. He'll get a big pay raise from $47,000 to $130,000 a year. You know, normally the Constitution says legislators can't go to work as lobbyists for 2 years after leaving the legislature. There's an interesting little exception. When you work for a state agency, that's not really considered lobbying, although that's exactly what you do. He's made a lot of friends in the legislature by passing out favors. He'll be back to cash in on some of them starting about 10 days from now. Warwick Sabin, the state representative from Little Rock, made it official. It wasn't much of a secret. He's running for Little Rock mayor. He's no longer merely an exploratory candidate. We now have at least 4 candidates in the race. Frank Scott's also in it, Baker Curris, and Vincent Tolliver, a longtime Democratic Party activist, says he's going to run as well, and some other people have expressed interest too. Could be a good race. Well, speaking of City Hall, there's an issue about guns that emerged and some good reporting by Jesse Turner of KARK. It seems a gun activist who now has one of the enhanced concealed carry permits that you can get in Arkansas and take it into more places than just a plain old concealed carry permit isn't happy that there's still signs up at City Hall and Robinson Auditorium and even the State Game and Fish Commission building that says no guns are allowed. He says guns are allowed for concealed carry permit holders, and I believe he's right according to state law. He wants to see those signs changed. Game and Fish sounds like it doesn't want to let people in at all, says it may be constitutionally independent. That's a legal question that opens up a huge can of worms, because universities also say they're constitutionally independent. Does that mean they could refuse to allow more guns on campus? Charlie Collins and Trenton Connor wouldn't be happy about that. U.S. Senator Tom Cotton has been bad on this subject before, but I think he had a particularly bad week on the hypocrite scale this week. He sent out a statement yesterday saying he was awfully glad that Mitch McConnell was going to cancel the recess in August and do some more legislating in the Senate. Cotton says the Democrats have just been busy obstructing Donald Trump's appointments. You will remember you can't filibuster in the Senate anymore, and that Republicans control the Senate. Democrats have objected to some of Trump's awful judicial nominees, but coming from Tom Cotton, it's quite a load to take. This is a guy that held up all the appointments of the Court of Appeals, participated in the year-long obstruction of a Supreme Court nominee by Barack Obama, who blocked an ambassador's appointment, a woman who was suffering from cancer because she was a friend of Barack Obama's and he wanted to make him suffer. He's blocked programs for Iran through small spending bills. This guy lives to obstruct, and he's making fun of Democrats. Kind of funny. The Arkansas Democrat Gazette today broke a story that's been simmering for a long time, and it is that there's a terrible feud at the Pulaski County Courthouse between prosecutor Larry Jegley and Judge Mary McGowan, who runs a drug court. Jegley says McGowan has been abusive to his staff and others in the court, hasn't adjudicated things fastly. There's a pending judicial complaint about just this very thing against her. She says that's not true, but to get around the problem, rather than fix the problem, as you sometimes do with a difficult employee, the judges in Pulaski County want to work around it and send most of McGowan's cases to another court and let her have a lighter caseload. Jiggly says that's not good enough for him. He doesn't have enough staff to staff 2 drug courts. It's kind of a mess. It doesn't exactly build confidence in the judicial system, that's for sure. Here's a note on elections yesterday. Democrats came out pretty well in the jungle primary in California. They're in contention in all 53 congressional districts in California. That's a good thing. But this sidelight you might have missed. Gavin Newsom, the Democrats, a heavy favorite to beat Republican John Cox in a runoff for governor. But that's despite a multi-million-dollar investment in another Democrat, a charter school backer named Antonio Villagrosa. The Walton family of Arkansas was in heavy in that race with other billionaires backing the charter school candidate. They lost. They can't always buy every election. Sometimes they can. In Arkansas, generally they do. Well, this week, for the second time, state Capitol Police arrested members of the Poor People's Campaign who are demonstrating for economic justice at the state capitol. Capitol Police don't like them demonstrating in the Justice Building in the Capitol, and they've stacked charges against them in municipal court. I think they expected to be arrested. One 50-year-old Fayetteville woman's been arrested twice trying to demonstrate for poor people. This is a continuation of the campaign begun by Martin Luther King Jr. 50 years ago, and it's a noble cause. Finally, this, and you're looking for something to resist, keep resisting these tax cuts for rich people. A new report out yesterday said that the Medicare Trust Fund is going to be short of money sooner than expected. This is because Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin acknowledges, gee, that big tax cut for rich people hadn't exactly flowed down in economic benefits that have increased revenues, and some of the changes on the Medicare law have actually shorted the amount of money necessary to go to Medicare. Not a good thing. It can be fixed easily, maybe a little bit of additional payment by the people who can most afford to pay it, some of those billionaires. Perhaps. Let's resist. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.